A WHO expert warns that the coronavirus outbreak is just beginning, as an authoritarian crackdown in China only gets worse. This is China Uncensored. I'm Chris Chappell. It's time for an update on the deadly coronavirus. First, some good news. This coronavirus now officially has a name: COVID-19. And naming something gives you power over it, at least according to Rumpelstiltskin. I mean, COVID-19 sounds much better than that mysterious deadly disease we can't stop. Now we can say with confidence that COVID-19 is that deadly disease we can't stop. It sounds much better, right? And don't worry, they put a lot of thought into that name to make sure it was totally woke and non-offensive.
We had to find a name that did not refer to a geographical location, an animal, an individual or group of people, and which is also pronounceable and related to the disease. Having a name matters to prevent the use of other names that can be inaccurate or stigmatizing.
I'm still offended. They should have called it the Kung Flu. Still, you should be terrified. A WHO expert said the outbreak is just beginning. He means the outbreak outside China. And if the coronavirus is left unchecked, 60% of the world could be infected.
With 99% of cases in China, this remains very much an emergency for that country, but one that holds a very grave threat for the rest of the world, unless we use the window of opportunity that we have now.
Which is why COVID-19 should be treated as public enemy number one.
A virus can have more powerful consequences than any terrorist action. And that's true. And if the world doesn't want to wake up and consider this enemy virus as public enemy number one, I don't think we will learn from our lessons.
Man, and China claims it's the US that's spreading fear. As of recording, there have been more than 1,300 deaths and almost 60,000 cases of infection in China. There was a huge jump in the number of cases this week. That's because Hubei province, which is the hardest hit by the virus, has changed how they count cases. They now are counting patients who have symptoms and CAT scans that look like COVID-19 but haven't tested positive for it. One reason for that is a shortage of test kits. Of course, those are only official statistics. Even with the jump in cases, most experts think the numbers are actually much higher, which is why it's a little funny that the Chinese regime keeps refusing international help. Chinese doctors really want the help, but the Chinese Communist Party seems resistant for some reason. I guess the party probably feels they've got the situation covered. I mean, authorities have started seizing private hospitals, hotels, apartments, cars, and even face masks. You know, I don't think I would want to seize the face mask of someone who might have the coronavirus. But I'm sure seizing someone's car is definitely a quarantine protocol, but I'm not sure why all the cars seized so far have been Ferraris. Weird. By the way, the doctor who uncovered the SARS cover-up in 2003, he's under house arrest. Don't worry, he's in good hands. Last year, they put him in a military hospital for a month. According to family and friends, the doctor was given medication which led to severe memory loss. Well, that's one way to cover up a cover-up. I told you last week about Wuhan citizen journalist Fang Bin. Police in hazmat suits came to his house, confiscated his electronics, and forcibly detained him. He was released after being told to report more positive news about the coronavirus. But this week, he wasn't so lucky. Fang Bin has gone missing again. According to courts, he was arrested the same day he posted this video to YouTube. Resist, all citizens. Hand the power of the government back to the people. I wonder if that was connected. Fang's disappearance comes less than a week after the disappearance of another citizen journalist, Chen Qiushi. He traveled to Wuhan to cover the outbreak. According to his family, he may have been forcibly quarantined by local authorities even though he wasn't sick. Here's part of a video Chen posted shortly before he disappeared.
我是害怕，我前面是病毒，我后边是中国的法律和行政力量，但是我会振作起来。只要我活在这个城市，我会继续做我的报道， 我只说我看见的，我听见的。我特别喜欢说一些撂的狠话，对吧？我今天把狠话撂这儿。我连死都不怕，我怕你共产党吗？
I can see why the Communist Party felt that Chen needed to be quarantined. They don't want him to spread his dangerous ideas. But I wouldn't want you to think the Chinese Communist Party is only dealing with the coronavirus through cover-ups, property theft, and detaining journalists. They're also firing people. In a classic move, the Communist Party secretaries of Hubei province and Wuhan are being purged. Everyone saw that coming. But Chinese officials who aren't yet purged are still fighting the coronavirus. The state-run China News Service released this footage. It shows a sterilizing wheel in the city of Chongqing that can disinfect a person in 20 seconds. Wow, the party is great. They built 2 of these, which combined, they say, can meet the needs of 1,000 people. That sounds great unless you can do math. Then you realize that in a city of 30 million people, this meets the needs of just 0.003% of the population. Taiwan has crashed a WHO meeting. Who needs permission when you're a baller? Actually, it was way less cool than that. It was just an online technical conference. Also, Taiwan worked it out ahead of time with the WHO. But Taiwan crashing the world's lamest party was still a big deal for the world's most authoritarian party. The Chinese Communist Party gets angry when any organization, including the WHO, treats Taiwan in any way that implies Taiwan is an independent country, even if that means risking the lives of 23 million Taiwanese people. But there is one party that I'm sure is worth everyone's time. In the Chinese city of Chongqing, a man wrapped himself with firecrackers, doused himself in gasoline, and threatened to set himself alight unless village officials approved his birthday party amid the outbreak. That's a man who takes his birthday a little too seriously. And that's it for this update on the coronavirus. And as you may have heard me mention, YouTube is targeting coronavirus coverage as too controversial for advertisers. All our episodes about the coronavirus have been demonetized, either temporarily or permanently. If a news show can't generate income while reporting the news, it can't survive. YouTube would have shut down China Uncensored years ago like this. But fortunately, we have the support of viewers like you, who I call the China Uncensored 50-cent Army. Through your contributions on the crowdfunding website Patreon, China Uncensored has survived to today, so we can continue to let you know about important China issues that affect you, like a deadly global pandemic. So as a thank you to supporters, I answer questions from them at the end of some of my episodes. Today's question comes from Jump Dog. Chris, is there any information on coronavirus infection in China's rural areas? Now that's a good question, but answering it is going to be difficult. If the Chinese regime can successfully cover up the statistics of Wuhan, a city of 11 million people, it's going to be even easier to cover it up in more rural areas of China. But I think we can guess that the COVID-19, is hitting the poorest people in China the hardest. Those insanely rich Politburo members are probably doing just fine. The rural poor, however, don't have access to good hospitals, or in some cases, even mediocre hospitals. Things may not end well for them. But don't worry, top officials will be fine. Thanks for your question, Jump Dog. And if you'd like to join the China Uncensored 50-cent Army, head over to patreon.com/China Uncensored to learn more. Thanks for watching China Uncensored. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. See you next time.